Let's bring in Ariel Cohen right now, senior fellow of Atlantic Council for Washington, D.C., lived in Israel for 11 years, served in the IDF, and that's the Israeli Defense Forces. Welcome, Dr. Cohen. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, first off, how do you feel about the president's sudden push for you guys to go into hostage talks?
Well, it's not me, guys. I live in America since '87. But he is pushing the Israelis to go into hostage talks. Israelis are in the hostage talks. Hamas is refusing to release hostages. I mean, come on, guys. Let's make it very clear. If they want a ceasefire, Israel will ceasefire tomorrow. If Hamas surrenders, releases the hostages, and maybe let the leadership leaves, like the PLO, Palestine Liberation Organization, another murderous Palestinian organization, left Lebanon back in 1982. But the only way Hamas is going to release the hostages if they're forced to do so, not out of the goodness of their hearts.
Right. I mean, they wanted something like 1,500 prisoners released, including 500 in for life, in exchange for what was left of the hostages. Sadly, I think 20 to 30% have been killed in some way, shape, or form. 2 were rescued, and now it's time to go into Rafah. Are you in support of the IDF going into Rafah?
Anybody who is against terrorism, anybody who saw the murderous mega-terrorist attack on October 7th. By the way, it was a holiday. It was a holiday called Simchat Torah, the happiness of the Torah, of the Old Testament. And it was on the Sabbath, by the way, too. So nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about women, children, old people being murdered or taken hostage into Gaza, but now all of a sudden they say Israel should cease fire. Israel is executing its right for self-defense like any country would. Imagine this country proportionately much bigger than Israel. What would we do here if 50,000 Americans were murdered on one day?
I understand.
That's the situation Israelis found themselves
but yet the president said this yesterday.
To find the means to bring all these hostages home, to ease the humanitarian crisis, and to end the terror threat, and to bring peace to Gaza and Israel, enduring peace with the two-state solution for two peoples.
Is he serious? Does he know the Palestinians don't want a two-state solution? Does he know Hamas won't allow that? Why do we continue to trumpet this?
He is doing something called politics. We see it in other areas. If you have time, I want to talk about natural gas, believe it or not, because that's some of my consulting work. That's what I do for a living. But this is pandering to the far left. This is pandering for Rashida Tlaib of Dearborn, Michigan. This is pandering for Ilhan Omar in Minnesota. This is pandering for Ocasio-Cortez and her electorate because Biden is afraid that he's, unfortunately for him, unpopular. The far left doesn't like him. And he does all kinds of performative issues that cost lives. It'll cost thousands of lives if he pushes Israel to cease fire, if he pushes a two-state solution when the Palestinians are not ready to. A two-state solution could have been done under Bill Clinton, believe it or not, and Clinton blamed Yasser Arafat, the then leader of the Palestinian Authority, for refusing it. Then the Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert tried and offered Palestinians all of Gaza, 100% of Gaza, and 97% of the West Bank, and they refused. Why? Because their goal is to destroy Israel, run the Jews into the sea, and do what Hamas did on October 7th. and the majority of Palestinians support that.
All right, and Ariel Cohen, our guest. So here's the thing. Now we find out tunnels are so sophisticated with running electricity, even decorated with mini kitchens and laptops and everything else down there, and it goes right underneath the UN facility and the headquarters of UNRWA. Are we to believe that there's no link there, or there's an exact link, and all the proof that we already have that they took part in the October 7th attacks?
You're absolutely right. The tunnels led to the UNRWA, that's the UN Refugee Agency. That, by the way, I don't know if a lot of our listeners know that. All refugees, millions of refugees around the world, are not treated by that agency, are not in charge. That agency is not in charge of that. That's the UN High Commissioner for Refugees. And guess what? Once you're a refugee settled in some country and got citizenship, or your children were born in that country, that's it. UN is not taking care of you anymore. You are integrated into the life of that country. With the Palestinians, they have multi-generational refugee status, even if they're American citizens. If they're Swedish or Egyptian citizens, they are still considered the refugees. Why? So that they can claim, quote unquote, the right of return. They can claim the right to go where their great-grandfathers lived in.
And that's part of the problem.
Israel.
And that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Ariel, you wanted to bring up natural gas real quick.
Natural gas is the Joe Biden reversed Barack Obama's policy on LNG. That's liquefied natural gas. Thank goodness we became the largest exporter of LNG in the world. This is the fuel that replaces coal in power stations. It cuts carbon emissions by 50%. And guess what? Biden is killing the future approvals for infrastructure for exporting LNG. So what we were supplying the Europeans with to replace the Russian gas after invasion of Ukraine, in 5 years, 7 years, we will not have the facilities to export more gas.
That's why this guy's got to go. Ariel Cohen, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Take care.